Hello and welcome to the Social Media Hangout with your hosts, Seth and Jody. The Social Media Hangout is brought to you by Google Plus and listeners like you. And hello everybody! And this is beta number 4 for the, what's this thing called? Social Media
Hangout.
Yeah, so please continue to watch and enjoy as we have our guest here, Robert Anderson from the Definitive Guides to Google Plus.
Hey, Robert.
And a number of other ventures, to say the least. Hello, Robert. How you doing?
And generally smart dude.
Generally smart dude. He's very svelte today. All dressed up for us. We feel very honored. Or maybe not. Maybe honored. And he's eating pretzels of some sort.
Danish butter cookies.
Yum. Those are the best. So
none for me.
Will actually, so the format of the show is pretty much what happens is we discuss some stories. We watch the comments as they fly through the air on my Google Plus stream. Jody and Robert, you guys can also share the post I just put up, and it will go to your streams as well. So go ahead and do that. And we will get started in a moment. So if you guys want to participate, go to one of our streams. Jody Rains. It's the one that has the Google Plus logo around the pretty blonde. Or Robert Anderson. Everyone should know Robert Anderson. Go there and find it out, and hang out with us via the comments. And then at the end of the show, we will launch it to the world, and everyone can come in and chat and be merry. So, shall we get started, folks?
Yeah.
All right. So the first story of the week is everyone knows about the Stop Online Piracy Act and the Protect IP Act. One of the things that's been happening is who's typing? Jay's typing.
I was sharing the stream.
All right, cool. So Primetime TV has not been sharing, has been pretty much ignoring the SOPA, which is the Stop Online Piracy Act, and Protect IP, which is interesting to note because why are they? It's a very dangerous law, and I haven't heard it on the news at all. What do you guys think?
Robert?
What do I think about SOPA?
What do you think about
the fact that the news has been ignoring them?
Oh, well, I don't think the news media is impartial. I don't think that they are, they have their own agenda, and their agenda, they're owned by companies that support SOPA, so they've basically done a news media blackout in order not to mention it. I was reading an article this morning that neither Jon Stewart or, what's that other guy's name, Colbert, have mentioned it at all. And what's very interesting about that is that both of those guys typically will call out politicians, will call out what's wrong and what's going on, and they've been mum. And it kind of sickens me because if they want to pretend that they are upright and they will, speak their minds about things or whatever, but then they won't stand up and say what, at least how they feel or whatever about this, and they're being muzzled, it's sad. But what's coming down with this is that it's going to be a pretty ugly, heavy hand, I think. And so.
Do you really think they're being muzzled, or do you think that perhaps they don't see it as being a general interest story?
Oh, it's an incredibly important story. It is.
Well, I know it's important. I don't disagree. But do you think that perhaps they feel that the masses won't understand it?
I think Jon Stewart's a coward. If he's not willing to stand up and say something, I think he's an absolute coward. And it's sad, but it's true. This is probably, here's the problem. The average age of a congressional representative is 60 years old. So basically our parents are regulating the internet. This is a really bad idea. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand what's going on. And they're letting companies drive the market space. What's happening is media, which has for the last 100 years been typically push. So media pushes in one direction. We now have two-way contextual engagement in social media. And they have a problem with that because they can't control it. They can't push in one direction. So what they're going to do is they're basically going to try to limit and shut down those media outlets that have two-way communication. And they're going to do it by threatening. And they're going to do it by filing reports and whatnot. When you look at the fact that Viacom is guilty of, they were the ones that distributed more file sharing software than any other company on the planet Earth. So CBS, through CNET, distributed LimeWire, distributed a number of other ones. They are the ones that created this problem, in large part.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad that they're getting to stand up and do this. Yes, they lose money. Yes, it's wrong. Yes, people have to make a decision. And yes, they should pursue those people that are out there ripping them off. But what they shouldn't do is shut down how we communicate in a free and open society and regulate whether or not we can communicate in a way that is effective to us. I think it's horrible. And if Jon Stewart isn't willing to stand up and say how he feels about it, or at least acknowledge that it exists, then I think he's a damn coward.
Now, do you think it's going to pass?
Yeah.
You think it's going to pass?
I think we are in the middle of a tide that we cannot stop. This has been in place since, a long time. This has been coming. A lot of parts are coming together. We have lost we continue to lose and erode freedoms and liberties that I don't think we'll ever get back. You can pick a point and a date, a time. I remember September 1st, 2001. I was on a business retreat, and we're watching the morning news, grabbing a cup of coffee, and we saw the first tower was on fire, and we're standing there watching it when the second plane hit. And in another hour or two, we stood there and didn't know what to do with ourselves. So we said, well, let's go do something. So let's get out of that. We're not going to sit here in this condo that we had and do nothing. So we went out and we went down to Kitty Hawk, and took a little tour of Kitty Hawk, and I was standing on the place where the Wright brothers took off. They were a little stone marker from where it first took off, and my buddy was listening to the radio, and he said they just got the last plane on the ground, and they just landed. And I looked at my director of business. I said, you know what? I said we're standing at a historical bookend of our American experience. I'm standing at the place where we took flight, and for 100 years we've enjoyed enormous freedoms. And I said, today that's forever changed. It's never going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And we've experienced an incredible erosion of our freedoms, of the way we move, the way we communicate, all in the name of supposed security. And I'm not a conspiratorialist. I'm not a chest thumper. I'm not a liberty nut, whatever. But my God, the world we live in today is much different than the world we used to live in, even the world when I was a kid, even in the last 10 years. I don't think we realize how much it's changed because we're in the middle of it. We can't see it. SOPA is just yet another turn of event that is taking more away from us that I don't think we'll ever get back.
What's the main thing that you object to, Robert? Like, if you had to pick one thing that you feel SOPA...
Underneath SOPA can file a complaint against a company like Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They will be taken down. The only way they can get back up is to file a countersuit with all of the objections and all of the court wrangling and everything goes on. They could take down Twitter in a day, and Twitter could be in legal wranglings for 4 years waiting to come back up.
Do you think that's realistic, though? I mean, do you think that realistically would happen?
Incredibly realistic when you think about law and the way it works. If you've ever been in a courtroom, if you've ever thought you're going to walk into a courtroom and it's going to be like Judge Wapner, you're dead wrong. It takes a long time. And when people are throwing motions back and forth and all they had to do is throw lawyers at it, they will park your ass. And they got the money to do it. And they'll sit there and fight legal battle upon legal battle upon legal battle. And the worst part of it is they don't even have to be correct. They can make an accusation and have you turned off. Now, what if you're not YouTube? What if you're a local voice for a particular something or other that a large corporation or news media or popular mainstream media doesn't like? Guess what? All they have to do is make an accusation, tie you up in red tape, and justice is not served blindly. Justice is served to the person who can afford it. That's America. That's the truth. That's reality.
But do you
want to
think
go to war, you better bring a lawyer, and you better have one that you can afford.
Now, do you think? I mean, Al Gore's come out and said that SOPA is a threat to the internet. And do you think?
No, he invented the internet.
Robert, do you think? Do you think? Yeah. Do you think it's going to get past the Supreme Court? Because, I mean, it seems pretty unconstitutional. I mean, it goes past, I mean, the Supreme Court can throw it out.
The guys in the Supreme Court are older than the guys
Point noted, yes.
But wait a minute. Age and understanding the internet are not necessarily synonymous. I know typically they are, but
I think
there's a lot of people who are
There's
a lot of people who are seniors who are pretty savvy, when it comes to the internet. And I can name a few of them that I've worked with.
Not our congressional reps, and you know what? Here's the other thing. I think the Supreme Court is just as bought and sold as the Congress is. In 1954, when Eisenhower left office, he coined the phrase the military-industrial complex, and he warned against that. What he actually was going to say in his speech was the military-industrial congressional complex, and he was warned not to include congressional. And that's what we really have. We have a military-industrial congressional complex. Those guys make the rules, and if you can afford it and you've got Congress in your pocket, you get to make the rules. Our world's changing. They cannot stand the idea that we can have free and open ideas, say whatever we like, wherever we like, however we like. You're going to be put on some list somewhere. My sitting here saying this could very well land me in the future, if not currently. I don't think it does, but maybe at some point in the future. I would be, in the future, I would be terrified to sit here and say this because I think my freedoms would be restricted. And if you're afraid to say something, if you're afraid to voice an opinion, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. We're not there. Yeah, all right, this is getting really downhill, really depressing. Let's bring it back up with, before we end this, is the internet a human right? Do you guys think it's a human right?
Is the telephone a human right? No.
Jody?
I think that's a ridiculous question. I don't think it's a right. I mean, free speech. Free speech
but
is a
the
right.
internet is free speech.
Well, the internet is a way to access free speech. But I really don't think, let's face it, the way that the internet is structured, it is concurrent services. So it's not like there's just one stream. If you can't get through on one, it finds another route. And I don't think there's any way that ultimately it can be suppressed.
Yeah, my opinion on that is that it's a vehicle for free speech, and, because of that, it should be, inalienable, and you should be able to get on the internet. The three strikes law over in France, I think, is ridiculous. There needs to be checks and balances, but the way this world is going, who knows? But let's move along to a more lighthearted topic. Apparently, Rupert Murdoch put his foot in his mouth. What a surprise! And his supposed wife was on Twitter said, "Rupert, take that down." Turns out that this Mrs. Rupert Murdoch Twitter handle was verified by Twitter, but it was not. It was actually not. It was a fake account. So that brings up a hole in the Twitter verification system. How could this happen? How could they verify a fake account and not?
More importantly, who cares? It's Twitter. Do you really?
Was it verified?
It was verified, yeah.
But do you take Twitter as actionable information? Do you post?
So someone who actually uses Twitter, I think that if you're going to have verification, it cheapens the whole verification process.
If it's not true.
If you have this input down. Robert, you're not...
Drag that into Google+. Do you know how many people are in Google+ that are verified that it's not really their name? Come on.
I know,
that's wrong. They shouldn't be verified then. Isn't that the reason? Isn't that what verification is supposed to be about?
Exactly. That's the point.
Come on. That's silly. How can you have a verified account and not be the person?
Exactly. If it's not their fake name, if it's a fake name, but is it the person... Are they verifying that fake name is that person's fake name? I'm saying, I get what you're saying, Robert.
Then there's a fault in the verification process. Because there's no reason to have a verified account if it's not the real person.
Exactly. The fact is, this is Rupert Murdoch's wife.
Yeah, I think it matters. Absolutely.
Robert, it doesn't matter to you because you're not on Twitter.
If you're a celebrity, it doesn't even matter. Across the board, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Google+, whether it's Quora, whether it's Twitter, there is... Honestly, I think that there is an onus on the platform, if they're going to offer verified accounts, to actually verify.
Or just don't offer them.
Right. If it's an unverified account, that's one thing. But if you're saying that this is truly, legitimately, whoever it is, and people who are celebrities, they want to protect their reputation and their brand. They have a right to expect that a verification process is valid.
Yeah.
If they want to protect their reputation and brand, maybe they should wear underwear when they go out at night.
Point noted.
Just saying.
That's not protecting reputation and brand. Maybe reputation.
Well, they're a porn star, it is.
Okay, on that high note.
On that high note,
you found a new plugin, right?
Here. And then shameless plug. But I plug for this guy. His name is Daniel Treadwell. He's on Google Plus. Look him up on Daniel Treadwell. He's an Aussie. He developed this great plugin called and now it allows you to cross-post your Google Plus stream to your WordPress blog.
That's cool.
$10 the pro account, which takes away the link. But I say give him $10 and let him make some money off of his invention. Well, pretty much what it does is it takes anything you write in Google Plus and puts it onto your blog. You can also limit it based on a hashtag. So if you don't want a certain blog post to go to your blog, a Google Plus post to go to your blog, you can turn that off as well. It's great. There's the link in the show notes. Check it out. It's only $10. It's not reoccurring. It's $10. That's it. $10.
Let me get this straight. It's $10.
$10.
Okay.
And the guy is willing to support it.
What are you saying?
$10.
So, but anyway,
so check it out.
You mean if I had 20, I could get 2?
Yes, you could. I don't know why you'd want to, because it's a digital file, and there's
get one for a friend. I don't know.
All right.
But you know what? One of the things that was brought up earlier.
Just so I'm clear, if we all three wanted one, it'd be a total of $30.
Yes, Robert.
In any case, Robert, you brought this up earlier, and we were talking about SOPA and free expression, and you had mentioned something about the convergence of media, whether it's like social media and electronic media and broadcast. And I know the three of us have all had an opportunity to participate in was it KOMU?
Yes,
TV?
You got it right, KOMU.
I know, I even do the little U thing.
I'm not doing that. No.
Come on, Robert. Come on, Robert.
Come on, Robert.
Come on, Robert.
I'm not playing your silly
game.
Come
on, Robert.
Come on, Robert.
All right, fine.
There you go.
Okay, we are making use. Okay, for those of you who haven't yet connected with Sarah Hill on G+, Sarah is an announcer at KOMU TV.
Not an announcer. She's an anchor.
An announcer, isn't that?
Yeah,
that's what the British call it.
What's that?
That's what the British call it. They call them presenters. No, she's an anchor. So she's
an anchor. But what she's done, which is kind of, I think, novel, and you guys tell me if you've heard of any other station doing this, but she brings in a panel of people who are on G+. You can just pop in, and they broadcast on live TV, and she's got the panel on a TV behind her, the screen behind her, and she asks the panel questions and involves them in the newscast.
Sarah Hill is absolutely groundbreaking. She has pushed social media in a direction it's never been before. She continues to push it. It's starting to push back. She's struggling with the idea right now that she has 340,000 followers. She's trying to understand what those followers look like in her local area, in local context, so that they have better, more contextual engagement. So she's trying to find where that lands for her. I think she's leading the way for the other 91 television markets across the United States. If she succeeds in translating the social media presence that she has to a local market so that they can tie in digital ads with their local ads and their local media plays, or if someone aggregates and syndicates that whole space, she's a pioneer. I mean, she's absolutely out there on the edge. And I was thinking about this today. If you did a survey in Google+, I bet you would find out that Sarah Hill is probably the most trusted journalist. If you put all the journalists online and you did a post in Google+ and you said, who's the most trusted journalist that you know? I bet if she doesn't rank at the top, she'll be in the top 3.
That's an interesting question, Robert, because I'm not sure whether it's a matter of trusted or you feel like you know her. I feel like, I've been on her little program a couple times, a big program, a couple times, and you get the impression she's a real, genuine person.
Trust and familiarity are hand in hand. It's something about, when I was a kid, you guys were probably weren't born yet, but watching Walter Cronkite coming into our living room every night was a matter of, he was the most trusted journalist in America, because you felt like he was having a direct dialogue with you, and because people can experience someone up close like that. Michael Dell is brilliant. I mean, he came in this space and did Hangouts early on, and he will reap the benefit for that, going forward in many years. And I think the journalists that come in here and harness and figure out how this works, it translates to trust.
Well, what do you think about the fact that it's kind of like the same group of people that keep jumping into her sessions? Do you think it should be more kind of like mixed up and different people? Do you think it should only be people in her trade area?
The challenge that she faces now is to find a tighter local market for her, more representative of the people that she's speaking to locally on air, and get those people to engage with her in a more in-depth way. And I actually we're talking about a project that might do something very close to that. Yeah, they have to engage locally. If news media is only talking to someone on the other side of the planet, it has some interest level, but it doesn't speak to the viewers.
Part of the fascination, though, is when she does pose a story of local interest, and she does the Hangout, and she's got people from all over the world who are jumping in and offering information. It really, I mean, it is a cross-section of who's out there. It's not...
But when it starts to land for local media is if they could, for example, be able to map those responses, if she could see that on a screen, and if she could see within her local market space that something lights up and she could touch that, and open it up and get a comment back real time. So I just posed a question on air, and hey Seth, you live down the street. You know what? I'm going to reply back to you. You just commented to me. I'm going to reply directly back to you. I know she does that, but she has to do. It's very difficult. There's 3 steps in between. The closer you can bring that to a more not just and media's always for the last 100 years has been pushed. It's in one direction, and now we have a two-way dialogue. And the more you can make that start to be closer to real time, it will become extraordinary. People will step up and they will start interacting or trying to interact with people, and you will start getting more opinion. You will start getting more feedback. You will start
getting... not scared of the government.
Yeah, well, I have to say, though, kudos to Sarah Hill.
Yeah.
She's gracious. She makes everybody feel comfortable, and she's got a lovely presence.
I have never met anyone in my entire life that has as much energy as she does, as much drive, as much focus, as much sincerity. I mean, she's amazing. I'm not, she is absolutely amazing. I mean, the effort she's put in, the willingness, her willingness to step out into a new uncharted territory and just go for it. Is there some kind of award someone can put her up for? I mean, is there? I know they get. There's Edward R. Murrow awards.
There's Crunchies. There's the Webby Award.
Is there something
Webby Award? That's how nominated her for the
breaking ground in journalism?
She is breaking ground. Well, you know what? I think that in and of itself, I think she's making enough of a splash, and I think that she will get the recognition because that's what it's about. That's what all of the social media is about.
Well, this is what we have to do, guys. Go to Webby, WEBBY, awards.com and nominate Sarah Hill for a Webby.
Okay.
I will.
All right.
That is WEBBY, awards.com. And nominate her for...
Can you do an individual nomination, or can you vote on other people's nominations?
I don't know.
Well, let's find out.
Okay, let's find out, and we'll report back. But in the meantime, interesting thing that happened, and everybody's been making all kinds of jokes about it and kind of saying that there's like this breaking up thing, that breaking up is hard to do. But apparently, Twitter's called out Google+.
Yeah, what's happened is Google+ is starting to integrate Google is starting to integrate Google+ into their search engine. Oh my God, what a travesty! They're the same damn
they're featuring
thing.
one of their own products.
Their own products. So here's the thing: Twitter took away the fire hose from the Twitter feed and didn't let Google touch it. So Google came up with Google+ so they can get social sentiment in the search engines. Now that Google's doing what it planned on doing, and it was more than happy to let put Twitter in the search engines. Twitter's crying foul. The Epic, Epic.org is saying FTC look into Google for doing something wrong. Google wants to index the world, and what they're doing is they're indexing only the public status messages on Google+, that they can see without digging into personal privacy, and they're indexing in Google, and it's this thing called Google+ the world or something like that.
You know how this starts. You know how this starts to change what we do. And right now, Google uses 19 variables for every search you make. So you make a search, it's based on where you're located already. It's based on the type of browser that you're using, context of other things that you've done that they can measure. So those elements are already a part of your search algorithm. If we all search the same thing right now, we'll get different responses. We'll actually get different number counts as well. So I was very excited to see, and I'd like to see what happens when someone else does it, but I typed in the city that I live in the other day, and I also typed in Google Plus or plus.google.com as part of the search string. And the thing that rose right up to the top was my wife's business. When they first released business pages, I built a business page for her. She's a local business, and she was right there at the top. I didn't type the name of the business. I just typed the town that we're in. What I like about that is that means that SEO optimization can happen just by participation in a space, and you don't have to have any secret magic sauce. You don't have to pay somebody $400 a month to give you the SEO optimization stuff. It happens just by participating. I think that's kind of cool.
Here's the thing. Is that Google and Twitter if Twitter let Google have its fire hose, Google would gladly throw them into the mix. It's not the issue that Google is being untrustworthy. It's antitrust. If Facebook and Twitter would say, "Hey, here's our stream, put it into."
Well, but hang on a second there. Google got busted just this last week, featuring and disproportionately featuring Chrome as a search on browser.
But they slapped themselves down when it was
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that they punished themselves. The fact is they did it in the first place. Here's
the story, Robert. Here's the story. This is what happened. The Chrome team paid for links essentially on these mommy blogger sites. Matt Cutts, who's in a different division, saw this and said, "No, it's not allowed. We have to hold ourselves to the same standard we hold everyone else, if not more." And the other division brought down the other division on the search engines. So they're two separate divisions. Google, it's a huge company with multiple different facets. And yes, I'm a Google fanboy.
As big as Google is, I don't think they get any passes. And this is the problem. Because they are so large, and because their motto is or was or might be do no evil, they have to hold themselves to a standard above everyone impeccably always. And they better figure that out, because they can't afford to slip up. Because every time they do, every time they erode that trust, they lose it much bigger than anyone else would. We expect other companies to go out and do what they can and try to scooch around and get away with it. Google, I think, has to be held to a higher standard, internally, externally, whatever.
Which they did. They policed themselves, and in this instance. I think that, I still think it's somewhat commendable.
I'd like to know what they're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen in the future, and then a couple days later they come out with something that by default, enhances anyone that uses their service. So
I think it enhances the service.
They're the search engine. It's the product.
It enhances the service. I mean, the whole idea behind Google is that it's supposed to bring back results that are relevant and pertinent to your search. And what they did was they enhanced the search with this Your World update, so that the results are even more relevant and they contain your social network.
So someone had a really good point the other day. They searched their name, and what came up was they came up about halfway down the page of their name, but what came above their name several places was a comment that I made about them in Google+. Now, it was an endorsement of something they were doing, so I said, good for you. But their concern was they showed up below my comment because I had the number of followers I have, and their question was, can someone who has more followers, who has more social media influence or more influence in this space, essentially hold sway over you and your brand and your name?
That's not necessarily the case, though, Robert. I mean, the reality of it is, a lot of it has to do with how long it's been out there, what the quote is. Take it back to the Santorum situation.
What if I say
take it back to the Santorum situation, where there was a website that was put up, and they made a definition of Santorum. It's ranking above him because that website has been out there longer. It's got better inbound links. The Santorum site was taken down when he wasn't a candidate anymore. He's a candidate again. He's got a new website. So, of course, basic SEO with the other site that's derogatory is going to be higher. Now, all things being equal, you're saying you're attributing this to the fact that you feel like you've got social media clout or following. That may not be the case. It could be that your article was out there longer. You could have more inbound links. There's a plethora of reasons why you're ranking. You potentially could be ranking higher.
And should relevance play a greater role, i.e. my identity online? And Google Plus has stated, or someone stated, or maybe I made it up, I don't know, that Google Plus is not so much a social platform as it is an identity platform. So maybe that identity should rank above comments or social search. Just a question. I don't know.
Well, maybe they need to change or tweak the algorithm, which
they are constantly
they do all the time.
That's the thing. They're constantly tweaking the algorithm. They're Google Plus on any given day changes so much. They're constantly working on this, and people are knocking it down, saying it's never going to go anywhere. Oh my God, Google did something wrong. Oh my God, they stepped on my toes. They stepped on my toes. Ow, that hurt really bad. I'm telling mommy. It's like, oh my God. I mean, look at Facebook. Facebook screws up all the time. And yes,
one thing I don't like about the space is everyone in the space only talks about the space, and I think when you think about social media, you have to think about all the platforms.
I mean, that's the thing. But Twitter and Facebook don't get along either. It's like, I mean, I get where Twitter's coming from, but Twitter shot itself in the leg when they didn't renew the deal with Google. What do they expect to do? Google is a data company. Google wants data. They want.
I think all these platforms take themselves entirely too seriously.
I think so too.
Maybe we take them too seriously, and they don't take themselves seriously at all.
I try not to. My wife reminds me it's meaningless, so.
I'm sure. So, is that the agenda
That's
for our
the
show
right now? Yeah, I think we're still broadcasting.
Let's talk about some more stuff. What else you guys got?
What do you have for us, Robert?
I don't know. Let's start a fight about something. I like it.
I want to fight.
All right, let's open this up to my circles.
It's good to have differing opinion, I'm curious what the listeners think.
Yeah, if they've been listening at all. I know Robert had a viewpoint on something here. Hopefully he'll come in and chat. Your circles. Let's see if people come in and chat. Come on in, people.
Hey, you know what was really cool? Just as an aside.
Yeah.
Have you been in Craig's games?
Craig's games are pretty neat.
Oh my God, they are awesome.
Why don't you send an invite to Sarah Hill and see if she shows up?
Sarah Hill.
Oh, and Jon Stewart too, because I'll call him a coward to his face.
Yeah.
I like him. I like the guy, but you know what? If he comes down on the wrong side of this, or if he keeps quiet, then as far as I'm concerned, he's a puppet, and everything he says is he's at the end of a stick. So it's sad, but whatever. You can't pretend to be a comedian and be genuine on one side if you're gonna keep quiet.
Hey, Carl, welcome.
Probably one of the most important things of our generation. Hi, Carl.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
How's it going? Where are you calling from, Carl? Where are you calling from?
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
I like Knoxville. Good barbecue down there, right?
Oh yeah.
Are you a native of down there, or hey, Tom's here? It wouldn't be a party if it wasn't for Tom.
Oh yeah, it would be a party.
Is Three Pigs near? I think I went to I think it was in Knoxville.
A lot of them are in Memphis. Corky's is in Memphis.
Yeah, I went to Memphis. We were driving down from Rhode Island down to Louisiana for the Katrina party.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Carl, I like the house behind you. I can't see what your house looks like, but the other one looks like a Weeble house.
Yeah. This is my lovely. I have about a 3-foot by 5-foot balcony out there, and I get the view of this neighbor's house, and I'm right on campus at University of Tennessee. So these guys throw parties all night, every night.
Oh, you're a student at University of Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm a part-time student.
What are you studying? What are you going to be when you grow up?
Well, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but I'm studying mechanical engineering.
There you
Good
go.
for you.
Wow, that's neat.
So, all right, so Carl and Tom, what do you guys think about SOPA and our personal lives being screwed?
Oh, it's awful, but unfortunately, I just realized I'm supposed to be on a phone call in 3 minutes, so I may try to get back on here in a minute. Sorry, guys.
Cool.
All right,
Okay.
y'all have fun though.
All right.
Nice to meet
Robert's here. Yay! So Tom, you're a ham radio operator. You enjoy the First Amendment. What do you think of SOPA and it possibly passing, and Viacom, all the stuff we were talking about?
SOPA, I don't think is going to pass. What you got to watch out for is them coming back with something afterwards, like a form of PIPA. They're going to sneak in the back door and just use SOPA as a smokescreen.
For those of us who are blonde, explain.
Hey, wait, I'm blonde. That's not funny.
No, I'm just making this stuff up. I have no idea.
Anyway.
No. There's two parts.
If the public goes to sleep
Tom, what are you saying?
There's two parts to this. The SOPA is so broad that it's like there was something else they were trying to pass where they were trying to reassigned certain frequencies to use for commercial use that were conflicting with public service frequencies, and that didn't pass finally because of all the different petitions. Now the SOPA is too broad of an internet sweep, in my opinion, that it's going to block. It's going to do more damage than good. There's probably a couple little things in there that are worth being in there, but the worst part of it outweighs the good that it's going to do, which I really don't see much at all in it. Now, a lot of people are saying that this PIPA, which is the second part of it, which I really haven't looked into 100% yet, is something that they're going to try to push because SOPA is not going to go all the way through.
Robert, retort. Or either Robert, retort.
SOPA is going to destroy the internet if it passes.
I don't think it matters, because whether or not SOPA goes through or the next thing comes through, they're not going to stop until they can once again push media in the direction they want to. I don't think SOPA has a whole lot to do with stopping piracy. When you look at who started it, when you look at who disseminated the software for piracy and supported it for as long as they did, I don't buy for a minute that these guys are crying in their cornflakes about this. I don't buy their argument. And what's his name? Alki David has gone batshit on these guys with lawsuits.
That beep.
Because they batshit. That's beep. Down there, can't you?
It's a fertilizer.
Yeah, it's guano.
All right, he's gonna go back guano on it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I lost my train. Doesn't matter. Whatever, man.
So welcome.
Enjoy it while it lasts, because it's going away.
You know, the spirit of the internet as it stands right now. I mean, if you look at the things that have made the internet mainstream, you know, media services like Spotify. Sharing services, you know, if you take sharing away from the internet, you remove the mainstream appeal of the internet. You know, you take the mainstream appeal out of the internet, a lot of people just aren't going to have internet service anymore. It's going to destroy the internet as we know it, assuming that SOPA were to pass and not be immediately declared unconstitutional shortly thereafter.
Yeah. Jens, where are you calling from? Where are you coming in from?
Tenerife, Canary Islands.
Okay, so since you're outside the great U.S. of A., what's your thought on SOPA and PIPA and IPA and SIPA and all those other laws?
Well, I think, like on many things, I completely agree with Robert there, and very worried actually, because I mean, all right, it's for now in the USA, but I think if it gets through there, it will rapidly cross over to Europe.
Sorry, cross.
Yeah, I mean, it's already in Spain. It's already in Spain, and I think Finland too. They're ahead of it, so.
Well, you know, here's
Nicholas Mione, I don't know, so I can't say the last name, would like to join our conversation, so if you send me an invite, that'd be super cool.
Who, Nicholas what?
Mione. I put it in the chat.
Nick, Sorry to
interrupt.
Nick.
I'm used to it, Robert. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
The only thing that SOPA is going to do, it's going to create a harder to track piracy solution on the internet. That's all it's going to do. It's not going to accomplish anything. What you're going to get is you're going to get dark nets that are used, and they're not going to be able to crack down on those. And it's going to be really, really bad. And that's going to enable other things that are going to use the same technology that are probably way more illegal and way more damaging to society. So basically, they're giving they're basically giving the money to these corporations and everything, and they're going to develop a dark net, and that's going to lead to a bunch of really, really terrible things that are going to be way worse than what.
Well, the saddest thing about the dark net is I'll never get an invite because I'm so square. That's kind of.
You're so far from square, dude.
Well, we'll be sitting here talking. I mean, I don't know. It's not gonna be fun anymore. So.
Let's talk right now.
Think about this. When these big social media guys come into Google Plus and they do a hangout, it's sad. It's just sad.
What do you mean?
Good Morning America did one, and it was tragic.
I think it's also what Robert said earlier. I think seen in the big picture, you over there in the US, you lose loads and loads of your freedom that you had before. Like Robert said earlier on, that it's so much different now, and it will never be the same. If you see SOPA, for example, in connection with NDAA, this is very, very scary.
Right.
You know, as a matter of fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking the other day that it almost puts me to the point where I would be afraid to voice my opinion, and I've gotten bolder about voicing my opinion in this space than when I first got here. I'd start to be afraid that I'd piss somebody off, or that I'd be on some kind of list that someone might decide that I'm a, I don't know, commie supporting terrorist or whatever the hell they decide you are, just because they don't like what you say. And you get on one of those lists, and your life is done. You know, and I'm not willing to risk going to jail for 5 years or screwing up my reputation, not that I have one, or putting my kids in any kind of danger. It's just not worth it. I'd rather turn off the internet and go do something else. I'm sorry, Robert, go ahead.
Oh, I mean,
it's just like, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Didn't want to. Sorry.
That's okay. I'll let just 1 second. I mean, here's the thing. What's really bad about SOPA? All right, let's look at the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. What we have right now. Universal recently did a takedown notice on a music video that Mega Upload had created for their service, which may or may not be a service that, you know, rights holders particularly like, though a lot of them apparently do. So they made this music video. It's kind of neat. You know, Universal did a takedown notice on YouTube. Right? Universal doesn't own anything in the video at all. They took it off the air for 3 days. Okay, so SOPA is going to give that ability to everyone on every site, no matter where it is in the world within the United States.
And guess what? It gets worse. You've got to go back to court to have your stuff put back on air. And if you are a small operator and they stick a bunch of lawyers up your nose, you're done.
And that's what happened to TNT. That's what happened to
if I'm a small operator and it costs me $5,000 in legal fees to turn something back on, you're just as likely to walk away from it, which means that one by one they can start shutting down.
And that's what happened to Tom Merritt's tech.
Basically, it's censorship of free speech by corporations. I mean, let's say Robert posted something. Let's say it was anti-Time Warner.
I would never do something like that.
No, I know you would. But let's say he posted this big, long diatribe anti-Time Warner, and there's getting a lot of people like that were following it. And Time Warner said, you know, takedown notice, you know, and they have to take it off the air immediately. Like they have to take it off the internet and block it immediately. His entire site. They don't just they would end up blocking like Google Plus, for example.
And what if that takedown notice erodes into your digital ID? So it's not just the fact that you might have a blog. What if they're allowed to go to Google Plus and say you've got to pull his account until we get this sorted out, and all of a sudden you go dark?
Exactly. And they don't need anything. They don't need proof. They have to do it immediately. ISPs are required to comply with the block list as soon as they get any kind of notice. Right now with the DMCA, which is also a terrible legislation, but you know it's a lot less terrible than SOPA. They don't have to. They don't get a penalty. Like Universal is not paying a penalty, even though they did an improper takedown notice on Mega Upload. You know, they don't have to pay a penalty for it, which is absurd. They should have to pay like a $20,000 penalty minimum. You know, if you put improper.
There should be a $20,000 or $50,000 at some level, at some corporate level. There should be a you know, based on harm, based on potential harm. There should be a bond you have to place, and if you lose your position on that, you should surrender that bond, and that bond should go to the person that had to go defend themselves.
You know,
so if you don't like my voice, put up 20 grand, and if I'm right, you owe me 20 grand. So then you'll think twice about it.
You know, ever since Walt Disney, this country has been coddling IP holders like they were, you know, like they were mother's milk or something. It's you know. I mean, it's because of Disney that we don't have all the great works in public domain that we probably should now, because they extended it to 70 years past the life of the initial creator of the character. For example, like Mickey Mouse, for example, wouldn't be public domain until 70 years after Walt Disney died.
And they'll extend it beyond that, and they went and grabbed a bunch of fairy tales, and they grabbed.
They'll go forever.
You know, Winnie the Pooh and other kinds of things that they will keep and they'll never get back. We did I worked for the National Children's Theater many moons ago. I was a professional actor, and we did a play of Winnie the Pooh, and we had to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to be able to use any of that content, and it was Disney that stepped up and said, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that. So, yeah, getting involved with corporations and art is not a very pretty thing.
Corporations are the opposite of art.
You know, I was watching something the other day about these guys were complaining. It was a movie thing. I guess the industry did a couple-minute hit piece on, you know, how they're losing money, how they're taking jobs away, and whatever. And it was someone put commentary with each thing, and they said, well, maybe you wouldn't lose so much revenue if you made better content. And
right.
Movies suck. I mean, they're formulaic. I mean, I hate sitting down there, and usually within the first 30 seconds, I can tell you the entire plot. I can tell you who's going to die, who's going to live, and it's just, it's like, oh,
you know, I mean, it's a long tail market versus the short tail market. You know, big media is short tail. You know, they spend $300 million, so they have to make $300 million back, and you can't make $300 million on something that's unique. You know, you have to copy a pre-existing formula.
They don't make money. Every movie that happens in Hollywood loses money. It's a tax.
Oh, that's the thing. That's why they have to. That's why no movies are unique anymore, because they cost $300 million to make. So you have to bet on something that's already proven to work.
Yeah. But I think we should wrap this. Joe, you want to get the last one?
Yeah, I was just going to redirect the conversation because I'm curious what everybody thinks. One of the comments that was made during the hangout was that the media, the mainstream media, has been either limiting mention and or not mentioning at all anything about SOPA. And I guess my question is, and Joanne or Jen's, you know, like, well, I mean, you know, if you wanted to comment, that'd be great. Do you feel like the media is not being forthcoming in sharing information about SOPA? Are they hiding it under a carpet or just not paying any attention to it?
Well, I wouldn't be able to comment on that, obviously, because I'm not living in the U.S., so I don't know how much it is covered in the U.S. by the. You
could be living in Guantanamo if you say the wrong thing.
Yeah, probably.
Technically, that is part of the U.S.
Yeah, probably. It's over here in Europe. Obviously, you probably hear even less about it than in the U.S. I would think. I'm only informed about it because of Google Plus, really, and because I'm trying to find my own information about it. Because, like I said, I am very scared about the developments at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Joanne, do you have any thoughts?
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, as far as SOPA, I mean, if you break it down to where I am, and I'm getting emails just now that I was checking, you know, the FDA is, there's so much that's hidden as far as drugs, food. You know, I'm getting emails from I don't know who, I'm not opening all the links, but there's so much that's hidden about it that they want to shut you up. And I'm somebody that's, you know, posting out there like, okay guys, orange juice right now, they're doing a test on that in Florida, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'm zapped off of here, you know, in a minute. It's disgusting what's hidden.
Well, the sad thing is, and as someone just pointed out, that mainstream media is owned by people that support SOPA. And if you, in this modern day and age, and if you can get out there and find your own answers to things, I think the erosion of media and the trust that we've had in media is gone. I don't know if they'll ever get it back. I don't know, maybe people still believe the stuff they say. And what's sad is that you have journalists, people like Sarah Hill, who are genuine and sincere and hardworking, and she gets lumped in with the rest of those jerks. I don't like that because I think she's. And
she actually would be on this. She would actually be on here right now, but she's eyeing me back saying that she's on deadline, so she unfortunately can't join the talk. Let's let I'm going to brutalize your name, buddy. I apologize. Safru.
Guy on the end.
What he said. What do you
Guy on the end.
Sounds like the Tahrir Square, if you could manage that back then.
You're from Israel, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Yes, yeah, I should pronounce the Israeli name. I'm a bad Jew. Anyhow, so what's your thought on SOPA and, you know, why it's not being covered and all that?
Well, about a year or two ago, I can't remember exactly, there were similar discussions in Israel about similar subjects, censoring the internet. It's out of control. And we never believed here that it would make it to the USA with such a magnitude. To your question, I posted in the chat a link to Mike Elgin's post where he quotes a study that says that media that supports SOPA doesn't talk about it. The opposers keep trying to bring attention to it. The proponents just let it slip by. And that worries me.
Very true. All right, guys, I think we should end this now because this is a conversation that can go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But thank you all for joining in. This has been the beta number 4 of the Social Media Hangout. I would like to be able to tell you when we record this hangout, which we have not nailed that down yet. So we don't have a set time. We don't have set guests as of right now. This is a looser form of the A2SM podcast.
Loose, not lose.
Looser. Yeah, exactly. But tune in next time. Check us out on YouTube. Search for Social Media Hangout. Check out socialmediahangout.com. You can always find Robert, gallivanting around Google+. Both Roberts gallivanting around Google+. So you can find both of them. And Jen's around there as well, so is Joanne Thomas.
And feel free to, if something comes up between now, we usually do, so far we've been recording on Tuesdays, except this week it turned out Wednesday was a better day, but, on a weekly basis we're recording. But there's a lot of activity, a lot of interesting stuff that's going on. If you feel that it's important or you'd like to have us mention it, feel free to send a note via Google Plus to either Seth or myself, and we'll make sure it gets on the air and send you a note and let you know when we're recording.
And
Seth, just in case SOPA does pass, I for one would like to welcome our new mainstream media overlords.
Right.
On that note, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yes, I'd like to do some brown nosing.
Nice meeting you, guys.
Brown nosing.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.